My daughter Grace had a very severe child slavery experience where she could have been caught up herself. As a result, we began to study the child slavery industry and then thought, well, perhaps before we get really serious about this, we should look at maybe any possibility. So there won't be any. And we did find forced labour in our supply chains, very severe forced labour. And these were organisations who were supplying my company and hundreds of other major companies. So they've all got slavery in their supply chain. So the trick is to look.
The issue for businesses is that if, for example, an issue of modern slavery comes up within their supply chain, as for example happened with Sharon footballs, it can have a big impact on their public perceptions and therefore on their bottom line. The fact that other countries are taking action to stamp out this issue should also be an impetus for Australian businesses to do the same. If we can stamp out modern slavery in the supply chains of Australian businesses and organisations, then we can do a lot, particularly in our region, on this issue.
Our remedy started at first with the action of looking. We sent a simple affidavit. Any of your viewers, any of the supporters of the Salvos can get a copy from us if you wish, just a simple affidavit to all our suppliers to say, look, have you inspected your supply chains? We require you to inspect your supply chains. Look for forced labour, bonded labour, any form of bonded slavery, and if you find it, report it to us so that we can help you eliminate it out of your supply chains.
Clearly the UK and Australia have got a relationship, a very close relationship across a range of issues. But I think, we're in the northern hemisphere, you're in the southern hemisphere, and I think a tied up approach across the globe where we're both saying that, modern slavery, the exploitation of people is unacceptable and that we're going to work tirelessly to eradicate this from the face of the earth. So I think if we've got legislation that operates in the northern hemisphere and you have the same here, we can start to join up the dots between and then start to work with the global community to actually eradicate this crime.
If slavery is discovered in your supply chains by anyone but you can expect investor withdrawal, investor rebellion. I know institutions who invest across the world, including our own family funds, which will immediately sell the shares the first whiff we get that unreported slavery from a company has been found elsewhere. Secondly, I think from an unselfish reason, Theresa May, British Prime Minister, has declared, and we fully agree, that slavery is the key human issue facing the world right now. There's twice the population of Australia, which is effectively incarcerated. Their freedom is removed. They're treated like farm animals or worse. And we should eliminate that out of all our supply chains just because we're Australian.
I think the benefits for business is that not only can they show that they are a good global citizen, working in with, for example, the UN Sustainable Development Goals and other practices globally, but it means that they can be a good model citizen, not only in the business community, but in Australia, but around the world. I think that investors can be more confident in investing in businesses if they are working to stamp out these practices.
We need to make sure that the rule of law is there, that people are punished who commit these crimes. Importantly, we need to make sure that the victims are identified, supported and properly cared for. And then we need to bring in wider actors like businesses so that they are actually doing all they can in their supply chains to change the way that they do business.
I think the Australian government has an opportunity to work with businesses very closely to ensure that we do something which isn't just a tick box or regulatory approach, but it actually incentivises businesses in a positive way to actually actively look into their supply chains to try and identify practices of modern slavery and to stamp it out.
Wherever you have suppliers, say in the agricultural sector, just be careful that there's not imported labour to labour hire companies which might be making most of the income, which you're paying the labour hire companies. We think you're paying the workers. Make sure that it's actually going to the workers. Make sure the workers, if they're from overseas, have their own passports that haven't been confiscated. And certainly, if you are importing from overseas, ask the question. Go looking to make sure that those suppliers from overseas don't inadvertently or deliberately have forced labour in their supply chain.